Hey, good afternoon, everybody, or morning, depending on where you are. This is Steve Turner. I'm with the Business Development Manager for Voice over IP and Video Conferencing Products at Streakwave. Thank you for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started. So I wanted to, again, thank you for joining us. I'll introduce you to Tommy Lee. Tommy and I have known each other quite a long time. That just means we're old, but anyhow, we've been in this business a little while. He's a great resource overall in the marketplace, and then also right now the director of the U.S. channel for Fanvil. So, Tommy, I will let you get started. And again, we're monitoring questions, so please feel free to make it as interactive as possible and get your questions in. We'll take care of them as soon as we can. And Tommy, I'll let you take it away.
I appreciate the introduction, Steve. Thank you very much, everybody, and I as well appreciate your time as well. I'll assume that most of the people that are calling in or watching us kind of know a little bit about phones, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give an overview with a little bit of emphasis on our IP phone sets, but kind of do basically a differentiated talk, because a lot of people go, oh, you know, phone's a phone. What is really the difference? And that's what I'm really going to kind of home in on, okay? And kind of really talk about how we differentiate with the rest of the world. And so that in mind, I'll just kind of go ahead in and just kind of state, actually, hold on just a second, and just sort of list out that for those who may not have heard of Fanvil, we've been in the business for many, many years, like almost 2+ decades. You know, where you may not have heard of Fanvil, we're also a leading global OEM manufacturer, you know, and we actually manufacture quite a few endpoints, and I could pretty much guarantee that many of the people out there may have touched our endpoints, and that, you know, this is not something that we're not a startup, but we've actually developed and decided to come out with a name of our own. So I'll kind of go over, we have IP phones that focus on business and hospitality. And as well, we also kind of venture into what we call our I-series products, which is our intercom and door security products. You know, I think this will enable you to sort of maybe perhaps expand your portfolio and maybe looking at some of the intercom things. Now, all the items that I'm going to show you are all SIP-based. And if you have an endpoint that's not SIP-based, we actually have things that'll be able to convert that. And in addition to that, we also have a lot of the solution and service management things that enable you to be able to update config files on all of these endpoint units, so that for fast deployment and everything. And I'm just going to go over some of the toolboxes that you can have that'll help you get familiar with Fanvil as we move forward. So with that said, let me just kind of give you a visual about what Fanvil does. You could actually divide our solution category into 3 separate categories. One is the X series. This is our most popular, where we actually deploy a lot of the business phones out there. And you know, we've grown quite a bit since we kind of came out with Fanvil. And supplementing the business phones, we also have the H series, or what we call our hospitality series things. This is just a small snapshot. These are not all of our phones. This is just a quick model to kind of tell you the different categories. And so we have a series just focusing on H series and hospitality. Then we have our I series, which we actually focus on intercoms with video, non-video, for ruggedized environments where it has to put up with humidity and rain, all the way to indoor environments where it's just a commercial atmosphere that'll take it. So I'll get into a little bit more detail in that. And when you couple all of these 3 series, we also have a management tool that can kind of combine all of these units and updating the configuration. We have the redirection tools and all that most industry providers have. But to supplement this management, we're also going to be releasing at the end of June a cloud-based manufacturing. Currently, we have a management system that allows you to update the config files for not only our phones, our hospitality phones, and I-series, because you'd have to download it to your own server and you could deploy it yourself. Coming about the end of May, early June timeframe, we're going to be releasing a cloud version. There are some differences which I'll kind of go over moving forward. Now let's just start with the business phones. And what I've done is, I have a lot of sympathy to Streakwave and being able to say how many, when I came on board the Fanvil a while back, we saw tons and tons of SKUs. One SKU used to have color, another one didn't have color, one supported PoE, one supported gig, it became so confusing, not only for the end user, but also for the person who tries to stock all this stuff became really, really critical. So what we've done is really root down the series down to what we call the XU series. And the XU series is what I call the all-inclusive series, so that you don't have to really figure out whether or not it has color screen, it has PoE. So everything is basically all included. And this is what it boils down to. With the X3, we have something that really addresses the basic schema of a lot of the different phones, where it doesn't have a lot of the BLF keys that you see on the side here. And that with this, it handles some of the basic keys with a couple of bridge and SIP accounts that you could handle on the side. Now, as you move up in models, you'll note that all of these are color screens, and the screens get bigger with a higher degree of what we call SIP account or additional functional keys. What's really key about this particular design is that on most competitive designs, you'll see this BLF keys that are on the side. The more SIP keys that you put in on competitive phones, the more BLF keys and speed dial keys you take away from yourself as you move forward. And so not only do you just see this, but there's a button key that gives you multiple windows of these keys as well. So you see this in addition to more, but you can add here 2 or 3 SIP keys, add part keys, and all that kind of stuff up here, while leaving a lot of your speed dials alone. And when you think about it, it really is sort of a mirrored upgrade from a lot of the old Panasonics and NEC systems that people are used to in the past. So it minimizes the behavioral change. And as you move up to the X5U and 6U, not only do you increase the number of keys, but you also add Bluetooth from X5U and 6U moving up. And obviously, we still have a little bit more capabilities. But the 4U is really what we call a basic phone that gives you all the function keys while minimizing. If you don't have a Bluetooth requirement, this is sort of the core phone when you need a couple of speed dials and function keys and not necessarily adding it. So we have basically one to address each of these different items moving forward, okay? And as well, with all of these, they all have USB ports, which also give you the ability to plug in a Wi-Fi dongle if that's something that you need to address a Wi-Fi. But starting these 2 units here, these are all Bluetooth based, and you can use that moving forward. This is just another more of a depiction of what I told you account, where you can manage your SIP accounts up in this window and handle a lot of your BLF and speed dial keys down below. And so some of the other differentiators I want to talk about is we also provide a 2-year warranty. And what that means is that's a 2-year when it's sold from Streakwave into the partner's hands. So that way, it's pretty easy to count. Most of our competitors provide a 1-year. We do from a 2-year, outlining everything that the phone does for specification. As well, we also upgraded the speaker quality to Harman-based speakers. Many of the people out there are, they sort of look at that as sort of a quality provider. And there's a reason why we kind of did that, because very often you go ahead and people pay a little bit extra, but when you used to upgrade your speakers into a high quality speaker, your speakerphone quality comes out that much better. In addition to that, we also have custom branding. I'll get into that a little bit more, as well as being able to pair with your customized phone. For those who are lucky enough to own a car that has Bluetooth capability, you could also pair your mobile phone and use the actual keyboard as well as the upgraded speakerphone as a separate line on your phone, which is really, really nice. And so instead of hearing it from a sort of a tinny mobile phone, you could actually use your mobile phone as a separate line here, coupled with whatever PBX you decided to brand it with. And as well, local support is a differentiator. I'm based here in the States. I'm a little bit north of where Streakwave is located at in the Bay Area. And as well, we also have somebody that's based on the East Coast for technical support. So again, another differentiator where we go ahead in and be able to pair you up with somebody live that could, help you out on a technical wise, and he's based on the East Coast. Let's just talk a little bit about branding. We have what we call neutral phones. So in addition to the Fanvil phones that I showed, all of the XU series have what we call a neutral series. This is when we take Fanvil and we knock it out on the inside as well as the boot up screen, and pair a set of phones that actually have the bezel. So what you would normally see here on a standard Fanvil phone, we knocked it out on a neutral phone where you have this bezel, and on the back there's like this 3M sticker where you could just peel it out and stick it right in, and you could really advertise your company logo. And that what we do is we ask for a minimum order quantity of, say, 200 units, because Fanvil will go out and manufacture your customized logo and put it on here so that the phone literally looks like it came from you. And so when you get, questions, you can market your own logo here versus our logo. Okay. This talks a little bit about pairing your Bluetooth, so you can go ahead and actually work the mobile phone onto this thing. Yes.
Back up one slide for me real quick, and let's make the point also that you go so far as to, even on the inside of the GUI, when you do a labeled phone or a customized phone, you swap out the Fanvil on the GUI and put the customer's logo there as well, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we actually put the customer logo, but it just sort of says like a VoIP phone or something like that.
So VoIP phone, okay.
Yeah, it's a generic term that we sort of use, and so you can't, it's not going to point to our brand. Everything that was Fanvil basically gets wiped out of the phone.
Gotcha. Okay, go ahead.
Or in essence, and as it says here, it's basically generic blank. So when you see here, you won't necessarily see our model number or anything. It's just a blank screen that you can go ahead and mark, John Doe or Mary Jane, what have you here. Rather, again, even when you have a customized logo, not only can you do it on a hard bezel here, but on the background screen, you could also put a bitmap image and sort of have it showing up on the back of the phone, in addition to having it hard labeled. Some people do a halfway mark so that you don't have to get a standard, or they stick with the standard phone, but what they can do with all the standard phones is put a bitmap image of their logo so that they can share their own logo on the back of the screen as well. But some want to go all out, and if you want to go all out, because Fanvil is based on OEMing and rebranding our phones very often, we will go ahead and actually wipe out our name and accommodate whatever client or service provider or integrator's name onto the phone itself. But we ask that there's a minimum purchase of 200 because we generate the label all on our own to do that. Okay.
I mean, is that 200 total, any model makeup, or does it have to be 200 of each model?
That's 200 for each model. Keep in mind that as you grow in the different model numbers, all of the bezels are different because the screen size gets bigger and bigger, and as well the bezel itself also changes in size. So to be clear, one would have to do 200 of an X5U or 200 of the X3U. You see what I'm saying? It could be a combination of two, but that's sort of where we set the baseline.
Got it. Thanks.
All right. No problem. No problem. Let me move forward with this. I talked a little bit about the Bluetooth. And outside of the XU screen, some really want to say, you know what, the screen's not big enough. We also have what we call the X7 series phones. And with the X7 series phone, this is where we kind of take it to the screen-centric person, where we have a 7-inch screen. Now, we realize that touch screens are very, very subjective. People either love it or they hate it. And so as a result, we developed two separate phones, one for those who love a touch screen and can click through a touch screen, and that to supplement that, we also have a X7C, which we call the compact, and it's really the same phone, but we reduced the screen size and use buttons for that mode. In fact, I'm the one that kind of likes buttons, and I tend to use buttons because if I do it really quick, I have to like reduce my coffee consumption, because otherwise when I go here, I tend to press the wrong button very often. And so it's my personal preference, but other people can't leave this. So, and here with the X7A, this is pretty much a similar phone, but instead we actually hosted it with the latest Android 9.0 version. You know, why would you want 9.0? This could support all the same SIP features as these two phones. But the great thing about Android is that it could also host many third-party Android applications that can load onto an Android phone that you might want to run. You know, like in a hospitality environment, some people might put together sort of a flow chart and run the app so that their menus appear here with, you know, what are the local specials of the cafeteria or the cafe today, and all things like that, just to name a few. So you could run that and actually have it. And the camera here is optional. So if you wanted a camera, you'd have to buy that as an option, but it just comes like a standard phone moving forward. I'm not going to get into the details. I can guarantee you that this X7 series will have everything the X6U or more will have, and this is something that you can do. It supports all the PoE, you know, 20 SIP lines and above, everything that you can really think about with included Bluetooth moving forward. What I'll do right after this set is I can go ahead and pass on a PDF file to both Angela and Steve, and they can go ahead and pass on a soft copy of this, so you can have a soft copy of this file for your reference moving forward. Some of what we call the specialty phones is that we have phones that are targeted for the call center. These are just a special X2P, which is just a small phone designated for the call center. This little umbrella thing is just another, but a hanger for your headset. If you notice the X210, one of the interesting things about a Fanvil phone is that we don't carry extension modules or multiple extension modules. What we decided to do is to put two extenders on a single motherboard. So what happens is that you end up with a solution that will not be beat in terms of price and capability. You can't buy two sidecars and couple it with a phone and be less expensive than having the X210. And not only that, you also have 3 separate windows here that give you 6 different capabilities, 6 different extension boards, and all on a single console. And you can have everything with all the features on the X210. Then as well, supplementing the IP phones and broadcast systems, the PA2. Now, very often in the legacy systems, you might have situations where they control the PA system. You know, it might go through a Viking or a Bogan amplifier. And now that when you upgrade what was once an analog or an old-fashioned digital to SIP, now you say to yourself, what do I do to really make this work over the same PA system? You could look at this as nothing but a gateway that enables any SIP hosted or on-prem PBX to reach into whatever interface and making it work. Because what this does is this enables a lot of analog interfaces while hooking in a SIP engine on the insides. That's a quick high-level design, but I'll kind of get into more features moving forward. Supplementing this, the X210, this is just sort of the listing of features. It'll have a lot more than what most people will actually need on a day-to-day basis, but it really makes a great front desk item to really address a lot of the people that want to see have a Christmas tree on their desk and seeing where all the people's activities are. Now let's talk a little bit more about the PA2 interface connections. And the easy way to look at this device is it's nothing more than what I call a SIP bridge. So anything that really had vocal communication that was done in analog, now you can really make it work with SIP. I'll give you an example. Take elevators, for example. Everybody's got the speakerphone that used to connect to the front desk. If you press the alarm, well, guess what? You could put a device like this inside and now assign an extension to each of the different elevators so that if somebody were to push a button, it could then call the front desk or whatever alarm number that it would be able to do. Second thing is the parking meter of a hotel. Very often, I've been stuck many times when my hotel key doesn't open up the parking lot. So you got to push a button and say, hey, let me out of here. But that used to be connected through an analog interface. You could put something like this coupled with what we have a kit that gives you a camera, a button, and a speaker to sort of supplement to give you that capability of being able to push the button and enable a SIP interface on that interface so that you don't really have to buy a new parking meter because you upgraded to SIP. You could just retrofit what you have existing and move on to it. Supplementing the PA2, we have some specialty ones. This is the PA3, which we recently done with just a couple of different capabilities. But in summary, This just adds the capability of adding on a memory card so that if you have music in the background, you can actually play music or have pre-done announcements that you want to do. You could store it on here and play it, but they're both basically with a similar operation.
Hey, Tommy, real quick on
Yeah.
lending itself towards the paging aspect.
Yep.
Those of you in the audience who have a hosted provider, but want to use a multicast as a paging option, this is a great way to have a device that's local in the network, because multicast doesn't cross over the WAN interface. Well, there you go. See, look, I went ahead of myself.
That's okay. That's okay. Go ahead, Steve. You can talk to it.
So it allows you to have an endpoint in the local network that then can be a multicast broadcaster. So you would basically make a SIP call from a hosted PBX to this unit, and then that SIP call would then go out over multicast to your receiving endpoints within the local network. That would allow you to do that even with a hosted PBX. So that's another really bright spot for this that solves some issues with regard to multicast.
Correct. And so you can not only broadcast to a particular multicast IP address, but you could also use it as a listener so that it can listen to whatever multicast address and broadcast whatever IP address it listens to a PA, a speaker, or even a whole network of phones, as matter. So depending on all of these devices that you do, you can actually do that not only on an on-prem, but as Steve mentioned, you can do this on a hosted platform as well. So supplementing the I series, we also have a specialty hospitality series as well. And these are really what we call the narrow. We call these the H2U, and it comes in both black and white in these type of phones. This is really great for really those narrow things. What this really is sort of a narrow-based phone where you can use it as a 2-SIP line. It actually just operates. We say it's for hospitality in the bathroom typically, but we've actually seen people use this for in a home environment very often, where you just have this thing that's posted there for narrowband usage. But one of the new things that we just introduced a month ago is now with the white and black series, we actually included a Wi-Fi series. So you can actually take an H3, or actually more preferable, an H5, which actually has a soft screen. So you can actually deploy this one phone that has Wi-Fi inclusive. Now, this Wi-Fi only works with 2.4 gigahertz in a Wi-Fi system. So that would be able to serve as anybody needing what we call basic capabilities. If you just make calls out, calls in, you can go ahead and just use this phone to really operate not only in a hospitality environment, but you could also operate in any home environment if you wanted to that has a Wi-Fi included. Supplementing the hospitality environment, we also have intercoms and door access units. And so the easiest way to really look at this is that these intercoms, we have everything from audio only, if you just want to communicate just with audio, and then we have audio and video. And the key thing with audio and video is, especially when you do it with outdoor intercoms, you say everything from IP65 ruggedized outdoor, these are units that handle rain, humidity, etc., all the way down to the indoor unit. And so this, again, is just a small snapshot of some of the solutions we have. We have a far more ingrained depth if you want to look into us a little bit more. And all these are basically SIP endpoints. You can use this to really help out. And when the pandemic started spreading, a lot of people started expressing interest in having, RFID entryways so that you can just flip a coin or something like that. And this way the door can open up automatically and have them open up. And this can integrate into a lot of existing systems. And these are all standard based moving forward. So that's kind of it with our intercom series. And last but not least, we have what we call the SIP indoor stations. This is an interesting device where we've actually taken a standard, like say, business phone, and we basically chopped off the handset of it, because integrated into this wall unit, it's really a SIP phone with integrated 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi that's integrated onto this unit. It also has a speakerphone that's also integrated onto this unit, and it gives you basically 5 speed dials that you can just call up. And it's great when you have a multi-dwelling unit application or even a small office that what you want to do is just answer a door. You could just click on this thing, and if you have a video output, you can actually see under VGA quality the type of video things that come through and provide a simple interface. So we have a couple of different models I go through, as well as the i53W, which gives you a touchscreen version, giving you a lot more capabilities of a speed dial on a touchscreen, supplementing this, and of course an Android version as well. Okay, so all of these things are available. They're all wall mountable, but in about 3-week time frame, we're going to be coming out with a desk stand so that not only was it intended to be wall mountable, but this could also stand on your desk to make a very simple interface for basic phone answering as well. This is just an explosion of what the keys are and the return key. And this is it, kind of the end. This is my contact information. You know, use me as sort of a hammer, you know, supplementing your sort of your toolbox, your waistband carrying all your tools. You know, I'm local. If you have a question on this, feel free to give me a call. If something wants to go really deep, you could contact Hector, who really helps us out in terms of getting really deep into our provisioning and everything like that. So all of us are really our tools that we make available to you. So feel free to reach out to Steve or us to kind of help you out with Fanvil. To supplement everything, we also have a, you know, the reason why Fanvil, you know, we don't have a PBX engine, but we spend a lot of resources to be compatible, which is a constantly growing list of all the different features that we have, in addition to having a management system as well, coupled with a 2-year warranty. We have a demo kit program that we kind of provide out, and this way we've sort of put together a bundle where we have the X6 and 4, or this where you can actually bundle up, you know, a 3 and a 5, or some of these things for really a one-time purchase, giving you sort of a low-risk opportunity to give us a quick test drive. And that's really all that I have, and hopefully I kind of came within the time frame, and I'll just kind of open the floor to answer any questions that the audience might have.
Angela, do you have anything that's come in?
Yes, I do. Thanks, Tommy. So here, the first question, they're asking where are these phones made?
This phone is probably 99.9% all of these phones are made in China. Very rare are all phones. A lot of the, even now, most of our competitors have all made their phones in China. If you ever stepped inside one of these factories, you'll kind of crack up because the assembly lines have many different brands all running on the same machines, different ways, but all of these phones are manufactured. There are some exceptions, but they're relatively small, but they're manufactured in China.
Great, thank you. Next question.
By the way, I do want to supplement that though. One of the things that Fanvil did do is that we're also exploring a manufacturing. In fact, I think in some cases we may have built some of the XU product in Taiwan as well. So if you have a situation where manufacturability becomes an issue, feel free to give us a call. You know, I mean, this is something that outside of China, we also have a manufacturing capability in Taiwan, but that's done on a case-by-case basis. And so if you have an option, you know, these are the different manufacturing sites that we do have.
Great, thank you. The next question that came through, they were asking, is it 200 stickers or 200 phones?
They're actually a little bit of both. We as a manufacturer could come up with the stickers, right? But then usually that would have to be coupled with, you know, because those stickers wouldn't do good on any other model. So in that case, what we'll do is we as a manufacture those stickers free of charge for the client, you know. And so once we do it, then they'll have to couple that with the specific phone model that fits to it. So in that case, Streakwave would have to have 200 of that particular phone model coupled with, and then we'll go ahead and manufacture the stickers and models. I would ask that you would send us a copy of your logo, via JPEG or whatever PIC file that you might have, and we'll send it through sort of like a PIC file on a picture to see if you would approve for it. We'll go into production and have it shipped back, to you. But it would be up to Streakwave to stock up the specific phones that actually have those bezels fit to it. So it's a little bit of both, but we only manufacture at a minimum 200. We don't do like 5 labels or 10 labels. We have to kind of set it at the level of 200. So if you have a case and interest, feel free to give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to kind of go over your case.
Thank you. Next question. Have you tested the Android phones with Celo for law practice?
Celo, I don't. What do you mean for lock practice? I'm not overly familiar with that. We just came out with the Android phones just about a few months ago, and I know some people have actually used it. I mean, it works. It's standardized on Android 9.0 Rev, and if that Android version that you're asking for is pretty much Android standard, there shouldn't be any difference in loading that, what we call a .apk file onto the phone, and you would just load that phone, run it, and see where it goes. Now, a lot of people get confused when they adopt an Android phone because 80% of the population's familiarity with Android is their mobile phones. And in the mobile phones, everything gets downloaded and you're working with emails. Here's an interesting point about an Android business phone. In an Android business phone, everything has to be manually located, meaning that if you take email, for example, yeah, you could actually read your email, but what if the email has an attached PIC file? You go, oh, in a normal mobile phone, you click on a PIC file and it shows you pictures, everything is honky-dory. With this, you'd have to load your own PIC file onto it. Oh, it's got a PDF. Now you got to load your own PDF file into it. So everything is very, very discrete. And so, and they go, wow, there's a lot of options here. What if you have an attached Word file? Well, guess what? Now you're going to have to put in the Word version of the Android onto the phone so that it can open up a Word version. For those people who aren't used to Android, what most people do in a third party have everything surrounded in what they call this APK file, which is just their Android application. And once they load it, then it kind of runs their app and the phone sort of becomes dedicated in running their application, which in most cases, if it's compatible with Android 9.0 and above, that's great. Many of the Android phones out there are still running version 4 and below. You have to be very careful of that. Make sure you're running the latest version so that you can future-proof yourself.
Awesome. Next question, can the audio video door phone interoperate with Cisco video endpoints, such as like their desk phones, similar to like model 8861?
I don't know any specific models, but as long as the video camera, now keep in mind that a lot of our phones can take up to VGA. I think the standards is H.264, so that if you have an IP camera that can pump out H.264, which is basically VGA quality video, then what you can do is take our phone or any of our endpoints, configure it to VGA, which is by default, and it would be able to display the video call as well as the audio, just like you would as in a front door environment.
Great. So this individual is asking that they are interested to learn more about provisioning server ability, and
Sure.
Can it be used to access the phones remotely for changes and maintenance?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, there's 2 versions. We have a version that it's called Fdms, which you can load today. In fact, you can go to the fanvil.com website, go to support download. You can actually download the server version. We provide this free of charge to all of our partners out there, and that you can load it on your server, run it in about a month time frame, probably a month and a half. We're going to be releasing a cloud version, which is sort of the same thing. The big difference is that the cloud version would be able to allow you to isolate it down to a MAC address. So right now, the download version gives you the ability to configure all like the X4Us to one configuration for a specific group, and they'll all be upgraded. Now with the cloud version, you'll be able to round it down to a MAC address, which means that if Angela and Steve were to have an X4U in the same organization, I can individually work with your phone and Steve's phone separately, whereas currently you'd work it as a group, or you could assign each other a separate group as well, as you're in marketing and he's in sales, and you can do it that way. But that's kind of how it's done. But the capability is there to do firmware upgrades, rebooting, diagnostics, maybe even running basic MOS scores where you can go ahead and check out performance. And all that is capable through our current solutions. The cloud service is FDMCS, whereas the current version is FDMS, that's it. Even I get confused with the alphabet soup.
Thank you, Tommy. Those look like all the questions that we have. So I think that can be pretty much of a wrap. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Steve, and attendees for attending today's presentation. I don't know if it was mentioned earlier, but this webinar was being recorded. So we will have it posted on our YouTube channel, and as well as everybody that joined today will receive a copy. So that's all I have, unless Steve and Tommy had any last minute things to address.
No, just want to say thanks for the time you guys spent with us today. Hope you learned something and Fanvil is intriguing to you. And if I can be of help, give me a call or send me an email. We'll be glad to help. And thank you again.
And as well, I'll send a soft copy to Steve following this, so that if you want a PDF version of this presentation, you could ping him in about 15 minutes. He'll have a soft copy on his email.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you very much. Take care.